What is up, boyos?
Oh, boyos?
And welcome back to Last Week in Games, where everything is video games. My name is Jake, and today I'm joined by no one. Again, it's another solo show. I'm hoping to have Nick back eventually at some point, but he's a busy man. You may be seeing more of just some solo Jake content in the coming weeks here, but he'll pop in when he's able to, and I hope to have some guest hosts as well join me at some point as well, so that would be really fun. I'm so happy to be here. Happy 4th of July, everybody. It is that time of year again. There's a few things that I think I want to talk about today. That's why I'm doing a show. There's been some interesting stuff that has happened in the world of gaming over the past week, and I think we're going to touch on that. We're going to start with the titties here. These are some tidbits of news that we love to talk about. In the titties, our first titty here is Hitman developer IO Interactive has an upcoming fantasy game, Project Dragon, and it may be a Xbox exclusive. I think this is very interesting news, especially because recently we've heard that, and we're going to be talking about it in a little bit here, that Microsoft at one point was thinking about buying IO Interactive and adding them to their arsenal of game developers, which would be interesting. And honestly, that would be a huge get for Xbox because IO is a fantastic developer. Hitman is one of my favorite games ever. World of Assassination is just, it's out of this world great. I'm also very excited for their James Bond game. I think that is going to be an awesome game. The guys who made Hitman are making a James Bond game. I couldn't think of a better combination than that right there. But yeah, Xbox is making some weird deals. You know, we saw with all the announcements of the Persona games coming to Xbox, and almost seems to have a partnership with Sega Atlas at this point, which is so interesting considering that Sega Atlas was pretty heavily involved with Sony. So that's a huge L for Sony. IO Interactive, of course, used to be owned by Ubisoft. Ubisoft let them go. So Xbox could be a good home for them. We'll see. Next titty here. Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa says they plan to make a smooth transition for customers from Nintendo Switch to the next generation console by using the Nintendo account. So basically, if you already have a Switch account, then you should be able to just transition seamlessly into whatever the next Switch console is. We don't know what that console is. We don't know when that console is coming out. We can make some predictions. I think it's pretty safe to assume that console is probably coming out next year. We'll probably get an announcement later this year, is my guess, and the system will be out next year. That is my assumption at this point, and I'm really hoping with the Switch 2 or whatever it is, that we get a not even just a seamless transition as far as just having the same account, but also backwards compatibility would be huge for a Nintendo console, because notoriously Nintendo has really never had backwards compatibility. I know you could play GameCube games on the Wii, but as far as virtual console stuff, we've always had to go back in and rebuy all that stuff. And now a lot of that virtual console stuff is part of a subscription service. So I'm really hoping that when the Switch 2 comes out, we get all of our Switch games as well on the Switch 2. Sort of how we've gotten the transition from PS4 to PS5. You could play all of your PS4 games on your PS5. So I'm really hoping in the future Nintendo follows that sort of industry standard. I would consider it an industry standard at this point. So we'll see. We did have an Annapurna showcase over the past week, and I watched it. And if you're into that sort of indie style and flair, then I would definitely recommend it. I really love the way that Annapurna showcases their studios. They for studios that aren't ready to show art or gameplay or cutscenes or whatever, they do a little almost like mini documentaries about their studios, and I think it's a wonderful way to showcase these smaller studios. And if you vibe with the people, you'll probably vibe with the game. I think that's kind of their thought process there. But we did see a few things, a few gameplay announcements and game announcements that I think are worth mentioning. So I'm just going to talk about a few things that I saw that I thought were really cool and interesting. First of all, we saw this game Cocoon. It's not the first time we've seen this game Cocoon, but this looks really great. It's sort of a top-down, I want to say not platformer, but it's kind of an isometric view exploration game. And it kind of has the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart sort of aspect where you're jumping to world, and it just looks really neat. My one concern with the game is that maybe it could be a little boring, but I have a feeling that this game is going to be awesome. I think the artwork is wonderful. I think it looks fun from what they're showing. I don't know if there's like combat or what in this game, but it looks wonderful. So I'm really excited about that game. So that's the first thing that I thought was really interesting. Comes out September 29th. Definitely one to look out for. I know some people at Summer Games Fest kind of got to get some hands-on with it, and everyone said it was a really cool experience. So I'm looking forward to that one. Another really cool game that we saw here was a game called Bounty Star by the studio Dino God. This game looks pretty cool. It looks like sort of a mech 3D action game. It looks, it looks like an indie game for sure. Like it doesn't look like Armored Core at all, but it has potential to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to this. It looks like a lot of hack and slashy action. It kind of it reminds me of sort of earlier Armored Core stuff, but it looks like a quicker combat style. It almost reminds me of that Transformer game that came out a few years ago. The like cell shaded Transformer game that came out a few years ago. It kind of has similar vibes to that. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it looks really cool. Another big announcement was that Stray is finally making its way over to Xbox. And let me tell you, Stray was, I want to say it was like a sleeper hit. But it wasn't a sleeper hit. We all knew it was going to be awesome. It has mass appeal. We've got a fucking cat. You're playing as a cat, dude. And everyone loves cats and loves playing as cats. You lose your friends and you try to find your way back to your friends in this weird dystopian robot future. I really loved the game, and I'm happy that people who don't own PlayStations finally get to play the game. So everyone look out for Stray coming August 10th to Xbox and PC. Another thing we got to see was Thirsty Suitors, which this is not the first time we've seen this game shown off, but it looks interesting. The art style, I don't know. I'm torn on it. It looks a little cheeseball-y, but it's a cool concept. It's got a Scott Pilgrim sort of style to it where you have to like fight your exes or whatever. But it looks like it's combining a lot of different gameplay styles. It's got like action bits to it. It's got turn-based RPG elements. It's also got some like Tony Hawk elements, as well as it just being like a sort of dating sim. So it's got a lot going for it. I'm kind of concerned about it. I mean, we don't fully know if it's going to be good or not, but a lot of people seem hyped about it. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. There's something about this trailer that just seems a little like goofy. I don't know, man, but it could come out and be an absolute bop. So I think it's one to look at reviews for. Very ambitious game, to say the least. The last big announcement was something I was not expecting, but Annapurna came out and said, hey, we have finally established our own internal studio, and we've decided to make our own game because, Annapurna is a publisher. So this is going to be the first Annapurna proper game, published and developed by Annapurna, and it is a Blade Runner game. I was not expecting a Blade Runner game from Annapurna. I think that the aesthetic, the style looks really, really great for this. I'm not quite sure what the game is quite yet, but I'm excited about it nonetheless. Annapurna is one of my favorite one of my favorite publishers. So to see them making their own studio, I'm sure it's going to be a bop. So, and Blade Runner is a great property, a great universe, and frankly, I don't think we've seen enough within its lore. So to expand that Blade Runner lore it's a great idea. No more real information about that Blade Runner game, but like I said, I am still excited to see how it develops and how it comes out. I am sure we will hear more about that in the coming months and years. I'm sure that game is going to come out in 2024. I think we're a ways off for that, but a very solid way to end the showcase. I love Annapurna. They've made some of my favorite games of all time. What Remains of Edith Finch still stands out to me as one of my favorite games of all time. Stray is wonderful. So not that every Annapurna game is a hit, but it's a publisher that really prides itself on artistic value, and it pushes the artistic value of video games and proves that video games are more than just, collecting little dots as a little yellow Pac-Man. You know what I mean? So I'm always looking forward to what Annapurna has to offer, and I can't wait to see what else they have in store for us in the future. And the way they break down their showcases, I think is wonderful. Like I said before, just giving the spotlight to the actual developers and seemingly really just letting the developers do what they want to do is just awesome. So I'm looking forward to a lot of those games, and I'm looking forward to the games that they didn't even show us. We just got to see some studio behind the scenes sort of stuff. So Annapurna, always on top. Real quickly here, we did get the MPD numbers for the month. So the MPD numbers are in for the month of May. I know we're in July now, but this is for the month of May. So let's break down the top 20 best-selling games of May 2023. Okay, at number 1, of course, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. At number 2 is Hogwarts Legacy, bumping up from number 6. I think it had the PS4 release in May, so that explains that. At number 3 is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, holding its stay. At number 4, we've got Dead Island 2. At number 5, we've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. At number 6, we've got MLB The Show 23. Number 7 is FIFA 23. At number 8 is Mario Kart 8. At number 9 is Resident Evil 4. At number 10 is Far Cry 6, bumping up from number 49. I'm not quite sure why that is. I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe it went on sale or something. At number 11 was Elden Ring, staying in that top 20. At number 12 is Minecraft. Number 13 is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, bumping up from number 28. Obviously, people getting excited for Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom decided to replay Breath of the Wild. So that explains that. At number 14 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I think that bumped up from number 23 probably because people were booting up their Switches again. And they're like, hey, let's play Smash Bros. Until Zelda comes out, At number 15 is Madden NFL 23. At number 16 is God of War Ragnarok. At number 17 is New Super Mario Bros. At number 18 is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And at number 19 is Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. And at number 20 is Super Mario 3D World. A nice collection of games here. No surprise, really, seeing Legend of Zelda way up there at the top. Hogwarts, of course, is selling gangbusters this year. And speaking of this year, here is the year-to-date 2023 top 20 best-selling premium games. Okay, at number 1 is still Hogwarts Legacy. At number 2 is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I do want to preface this by saying Nintendo does not release its digital sales numbers. So this does not include the digital sales of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I wonder if they included those digital sales, maybe it would have bumped up to number 1. But at this point, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is at number 2 for the year. At number 3 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. At number 4 is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. At number 5 is Resident Evil 4. At number 6 is MLB The Show 23. At number 7, Dead Island 2. At number 8, FIFA 23. Number 9 is Dead Space. At number 10 is Madden NFL 23. Number 11, just outside of the top 10, is Elden Ring. Still selling really great this year. At number 12 is The Last of Us Part 1. At number 13 is Mario Kart 8. At number 14 is God of War Ragnarok. Number 15 is Minecraft, always selling well. At number 16 is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. At number 17 is Fire Emblem Engage. At number 18 is Sonic Frontiers. At number 19 is Forspoken. And at number 20 is NBA 2K23. So like I said, very interesting. The battle between Zelda and Hogwarts is going to be a tight one this year, I think, especially when Hogwarts has its release on Switch later this year. So we'll see how that increases those numbers. So very, very interesting MPD numbers this year. We have one big piece of news here, and it comes to us from Jess Howard over at GameSpot. Microsoft's proposed strategy to spend Sony out of business revealed in 2019 internal email. This has been the talk of the town for the past week. Let's just dive into the article and we'll break it down, all right? As part of the ongoing trial between the Federal Trade Commission and Microsoft, an internal email from Xbox Game Studio chief Matt Booty encouraging Microsoft CFO Tim Stewart to, quote, spend Sony out of business, end quote, has been made public. The email, which was sent in December 2019, explains Microsoft's aggressive acquisition plans, which almost resulted in the company purchasing Sega, Niantic, and Bungie. In the email, first shared by The Verge, Booty writes, quote, we, Microsoft, are in a very unique position to go spend Sony out of business. If we think that video game content matters in 10 years, we might look back and say, totally would have been worth it to lose $2 billion or $3 billion in 2020 to avoid a situation where Tencent, Google, Amazon, or even Sony have become the Disney of games and own most of the valuable content. Booty went on to explain how it is practically impossible for a company to start a new streaming service due to Disney's competitive holdings, before drawing a comparison between video streaming services and the future of the game industry. Quote, in games, Google is 3 to 4 years away from being able to have a studio up and running. Amazon has shown no ability to execute on game content. Content is the one moat that we have in terms of a catalog that runs on current devices and capability to create new. Sony is really the only other player who could compete with Game Pass, and we have a 2-year and $10 million sub lead, end quote. In the years since the email was sent, both Sony and Microsoft have increased their portfolios through major studio acquisitions. In 2021, Sony purchased Returnal developer Housemarque and noted remake developer Bluepoint Games, followed by Destiny developer Bungie in 2022. In the same time frame, Microsoft has acquired Bethesda, Arcane, and Tango Gameworks parent studio ZeniMax Media, as well as initiated as well as initiated the process of purchasing Activision Blizzard, the latter of which being responsible for the company's ongoing trial against the FTC. In addition to Booty's email, several other pieces of information regarding Microsoft's business and strategies have been revealed throughout the trial, such as Xbox explaining Starfield was planned for PS5 prior to Microsoft acquiring ZeniMax, and Microsoft claiming to have, quote, lost the console war. Update: following publication, a Microsoft spokesperson reached out to GameSpot with this statement, quote, this email is 3.5 years old and predates the announcement of our acquisition by 25 months. It refers to industry trends we never pursued and is unrelated to the acquisition. Is it unrelated to the acquisition? Because it sounds like they're making this acquisition because of their plan to outbuy Sony, right? Like, this is right inside of that plan. So that update, them making that statement, is absolute horseshit. It's not true. Like, this is the plan. They want to outbuy Sony. They want to buy all the big publishers, because it also came out that they were trying to buy IO Interactive. Of course, earlier it said Sega, Niantic, and Bungie at one point. I'm sure Bungie turned them down because they have a pretty negative history with Xbox in the past, as well as Bungie getting out of a horrible deal with Activision, and knowing Bungie probably knew about the acquisition going on when they were trying to get bought by somebody. So that explains why Bungie didn't go to Xbox. But I think it's a grim future for gaming if this is how it keeps going. The merging, and that's why I love seeing studios like Annapurna, or publishers like Annapurna. I used to say I love publishers like Bethesda because they were big publishers who were not part of the big console war, but now they are, and this is the problem. When you only have 3 consoles, and one of them is a Nintendo where they're kind of doing their own fucking thing. When you only have these 2 big consoles and everything's getting bought up by these consoles, it's both Sony and Microsoft, right? It comes down to these 2 things, and it's not a monopoly, but it is a duopoly, which is almost just as dangerous. Because what happens if one of them starts to crumble? What happens when that happens? And if I'm being honest with you, I think the acquisition of Bungie by Sony was a response to all of the acquisitions that Xbox had been making. Because let's not forget that it's not like the acquisitions started with Bethesda. They bought Team Ninja as well. They bought Rare forever ago. Like, they've been acquiring studios for a long time. I will say I think the acquisition of Insomniac by PlayStation probably has little to do with all of this. I think that was a long time coming, but it probably did expedite that process. I think Sony was like, man, we gotta buy Insomniac, we gotta buy Bungie now before Xbox is on there like vultures, trying to buy these companies. How long before Xbox or PlayStation buys like Ubisoft or EA? That to me, that is a grim future, and it scares me to see the gaming industry go this way. And the fact that Xbox is trying to pretend like, oh yeah, this is not part of that plan, we did not pursue that plan. It's like, yes, you did. You acquired Bethesda. You are trying to acquire fucking Activision, which is the biggest game publisher out there. So it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. They're both liars. Sony and Microsoft are both liars. They're both lying through their teeth. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know if this Activision deal is going to go through or not. I don't see why it wouldn't, to be honest. But it's scary. Honestly, like, if they do get Activision, that's a huge percent of the market, a lot of people only play Call of Duty. I don't think people understand how important of an IP Call of Duty is. There are millions of gamers who only play Call of Duty. And I know Xbox is saying, well, we're going to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. They can say that all they want, right? But look what just happened with Starfield. And it's confirmed here when it said that Starfield was originally going to come to PlayStation. And now it's not. So the same thing could happen to Call of Duty. Phil Spencer is quick to say, like, oh, we want everything on everything. But do they? Is it within their best interest? I think they're just talking a big game. I don't trust Phil Spencer, man. He seems like a nice guy, but I don't trust him. Here's a little addition here at the end here. Jess Howard at GameSpot, once again, Bethesda executive confused by Microsoft's willingness to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. As part of the ongoing trial between the Federal Trade Commission and Microsoft, an internal email sent by Bethesda Senior Vice President of Global Marketing and Communication, Pete Hines, expressing frustration regarding Xbox's inconsistent exclusivity policies has surfaced. According to the document, the email was sent to 3 of his Bethesda colleagues, Todd Howard, Jamie Leader, and Todd Vaughn, in February 2022. First shared by Axios reporter Stephen Totilo via Twitter. The email begins with Hines stating he was confused by Microsoft representatives stating that the company is, quote, committed to Sony and will make them, Call of Duty and other popular Activision games, available on PlayStation. In a 2022 blog post, he then asked, quote, is the below not the opposite of what we were just asked to do with our own titles? What's the difference? Said Pete Hines. After sharing an excerpt of the Xbox blog post mentioned, Hines added, quote, did anyone at Xbox think about giving us a heads up on this? Todd's going to DICE in a couple of weeks. You don't think a journo might find him and press him on why the below is okay with Call of Duty or any Activision Blizzard game, but not with the Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield? In addition to Hines' grievances regarding Bethesda being told what to do with its titles, the email also holds another compelling bit of information. If what Hines states is true, the Elder Scrolls 6 will be an Xbox and PC exclusive. While not particularly surprising, this does seem to go against Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer's testimony last week, in which he stated the company had yet to decide if the Elder Scrolls 6 would be available on PlayStation. Now, in Phil Spencer's defense, of course he's going to say that about the Elder Scrolls 6. The thing's barely announced. The game is probably not even close to being in development yet, so of course he's not going to say anything about exclusivity yet. But it's such a great point. Like, of course Sony is freaking out about Xbox acquiring Activision, because then they get Call of Duty. And like I just said a minute ago, if they get Call of Duty, that's going to become exclusive eventually. And yeah, they could sign a 10-year deal. Like, hey, if we can acquire Activision, we will commit to 10 years of allowing this game on PlayStation. But what happens after those 10 years? 10 years in gaming is not a long time with the way the development cycle works, you know? We get like 2 games out of a studio in 10 years. So 10 years is not a long time in the grand scheme of things. So what happens in those 10 years? Now we've lost Call of Duty over on PlayStation. That's a mess, dude. That is a mess. And I see where Sony's coming from, to be honest. And I know what everyone's saying, like Sony's acquiring things too, but Sony's not acquiring Activision. That's the difference. That is the difference. Sony is not acquiring Activision. Acquiring Insomniac versus acquiring Activision, 2 very different beasts there. If Sony just acquired EA, then maybe we could have that conversation. But comparing Bungie to Activision, it's not even close. Because Bungie was under Activision. You know, Bungie is a fucking studio. Activision's a whole ass fucking publisher. So I just don't think those comparisons are even right or fair. And honestly, if they acquire Activision, I think it kind of pigeonholes them in the future if they try to buy anything else. I think it sours a deal with Sega Atlas if they acquire Activision, Xbox. If Xbox acquires Activision, it sours a deal with Sega Atlas because now we're worried about monopolies. If they just acquired Sega Atlas, whatever. You know what I mean? That's whatever. That's fine. But whole ass Activision, it's just, man, it's insanity. It reminds me of the Disney Fox deal, you know? But on a whole grander, bigger stage. Because Fox was floundering. Activision is not floundering. So the whole idea that this is happening it's fucking bananas. And we're going to keep watching it unravel, and we'll keep reporting on it here. So let's open up OpenCritic over here. And over on OpenCritic, we've got some games that have been reviewed recently. And we've got Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, which is a game I don't really remember. Oh, this is by the guys who made Phoenix Wright, right? Well, this game got an 85 on OpenCritic, so that's pretty good. AEW Fight Forever got a 65 on OpenCritic, so not very good. Sonic Origins Plus got a 73, so doing pretty well. Anything else worth mentioning? Final Fantasy 16 got an 89 on OpenCritic. That's very good. So people are very hyped on this Final Fantasy, and I'm hoping I get to play it pretty soon. Just very, very busy with Zelda. Been playing Splatoon. Been playing the Jedi game. There's just so many games right now, but I'm hoping to get to Final Fantasy eventually. Next week in games, we've got Guilt coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC July 6th. And The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie comes to PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC on July 7th. So, not a crazy week in games next week. So, there you go. Everyone, thank you for watching. This is another short episode, but you know, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, you know. There might be some short episodes, but I really appreciate you watching. Check out the YouTube channel. Really appreciate it. Check out the twitch.tv/lonercast. Really appreciate it. If you guys subscribe, like, all that good stuff, that would be everything. We got tons of content over on the YouTube channel. We throw everything at the wall, and whatever sticks, we keep making it. You know what I mean? So please check out the YouTube channel. If you have any ideas for YouTube videos, let us know. If you want to hear us ramble on about some bullshit, let us know. And we'd love to hear your comments down in the comments section as well on the YouTube page. So really appreciate it. You can also find this on podcast services. Spotify is kind of the one I push because it's just easy. Just go to Spotify. You can look up Last Week in Games. We should pop up. Really appreciate it. Yep. And once again, check us out on twitch.tv/lonercast. I've been streaming Jedi Survivor over there. I've also been streaming some Splatoon, getting ready for that Splatfest. So check that out as well. Also, Tetris Tuesday, baby. We're playing Tetris every Tuesday. Let's go. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we will check you next week in games.